Larissa Grass from the studio at Gallery North with your daily dose of art. On the docket for today's lesson is sketchbooks. Today we're going to teach you how to make a sketchbook with the items you can find at your house. So here's what you're going to need. First things first, you need some cardboard. I have a good old-fashioned Amazon box here. I know y'all got some Amazon packages sent to your house recently. You should save these boxes. They're great for things like making sketchbooks, making Mickey ears or more, cardboard builds. Today we're going to show you how to use it to make a sketchbook. You're also going to need some yarn or string. If you don't have any of those items, you can think about dental floss, an old shoelace. So we need something to bind our book together with. You're also going to need paper. You can use fancy stuff if you've got it at home, but if you don't, you can go to your good old-fashioned computer printer and get some paper out, and that's what I have here today. You're also going to need some tape, but this is a non-essential. You don't really need to have this, but it does make it a little bit more sturdy. So I have some tape that people would probably have at home. So mom or dad might have this for packing up packages or boxing things up or fixing pipes or magical other things. We have duct tape and some packing tape, clear and brown. You're also going to need some glue. And if you're lucky, something very sharp to use for sewing. You can use a needle. We have those here at the studio. We use them often for bookmaking, but you don't have to use a needle today. What you need is something to poke a hole in your pages so that you can stitch them together so you can put all your whole book together. So with all of these items set and ready to go, we're going to put a book together. Let me show you how to do it. So first things first, we're going to talk about the cover. If you have a cardboard box, it's good. The first thing you're going to want to do is get it to a point where you can open it and flatten it out. And if the only way for you to cut up your cardboard box is to use a scissor, I'm going to recommend that you cut along the folded edges of the box, because otherwise it takes a lot of muscle power to get through all that cardboard. But that's also a good thing, because when we're creating art, we want to make sure that we're building up the muscles in our hands so that we can become better at all of the fine motor coordination we need to make art. So if you're using your hands and it's really hard to use those scissors, keep going, power through it. You're going to make your hands stronger and you're going to become a better artist because of it. So I am going to start cutting up my cardboard so that I can make a cover for my book. So I'm going to cut along one of the folded edges so it is a little easier for me to get a piece out. Okay, and I'm going to take all this extra stuff and I'm going to set it aside. I'll use it for another project later. Okay. And I'm going to cut my cardboard to become the cover of my book, and I need to know what size my book's going to be before I could do that. And that means I need to get my paper out. So I have my paper. I've decided to use computer paper. I folded it in half so I knew that I had some nice pages. And now that I know what size my book's going to be, I can mark out how big my cover will be. If I put my pages on top of my cardboard, I can literally trace the size of my book so that I know how big my cover needs to be. So there's my cover. And I obviously need two of these guys because I need a front cover and I need a back cover. So I'm gonna cut this out. And if you've got an adult at home who can help you, if this is a little too hard, have them help you. It's always to collaborate on a work of art together. Now that I have one cover, I can trace onto my cardboard my second cover and cut it out. Oh, this is so challenging, but I'm building up those muscles. It's a good thing. If mom or dad has a box cutter and they want to help you cut it out, they can certainly do that. I don't want you using a box cutter all by yourself. it's better for you to try with your scissors. Like I said, making your hands stronger. So now I have my 2 covers, okay? At this point, if you have tape, you can kick up your sketchbook a notch. You can make it a little bit more professional. And you can take out one of your tapes. I'm gonna use red here. And you can pull a piece that's a little bit larger than your book covers. Okay, don't try to use your scissor on your duct tape. You'll get duct tape glue all over your scissors and then you won't be able to use them again. Duct tape can actually be torn, okay? So I have my tape out and my covers on either side. I'm gonna stick them onto my duct tape with a little space in between them, evenly, just like that. I'm gonna give it a little tap. And I'm gonna fold over this extra duct tape here to make sure that it's stuck, but I still have this sticky part in the middle. So I'm gonna tear one more length of duct tape that's gonna cover that little sticky opening. And I'm gonna stick it down best I can, line it up best I can. Nobody's perfect. Okay, and I'm gonna cover up that sticky part. And now, if I close it, I have a book cover. Look at that, there's my book, okay? If you don't have tape, you'll skip this part. No big deal. We can still use our cardboard on our book, even if we don't have tape. So this is a luxury item here. We're adding this as our binding. It makes our book look fancy, but if you don't have tape, no big deal. Okay, so my book cover's ready for pages, so I'm gonna set it aside so that I can sew my pages together. Okay, so we're up to the sewing part. I've taken my paper and I folded it in half so that I have nicely folded pages for my book. I recommend that you don't use too many pieces of paper at once so that sewing becomes a lot easier. I have about 6 pages here. And remember, once you fold this in half, 6 doubles and actually quadruples because you consider the front and the back of the page to be a different page. So you can get quite a few pages in here. And remember, once you make one book and fill it, you can make another. You're gonna be an expert after this. So I have my pages all folded and it's time for me to sew them together. The sewing is not like sewing a garment or a dress or a shirt, something like that. This is gonna be a lot simpler. And the things I need for that are a needle. I have a few here that I wanna show you that you might have laying around your house, okay? So I have, this is just a regular sewing needle, which your mom or dad might have in a sewing kit, or grandma or aunt or uncle, who's ever at home with you might have. This here is an actual bookbinding needle. I don't know if you'd have that at home, but it's a thicker needle, and you might find one sitting in a sewing kit. You can use this for bookbinding, and here is a great needle for weaving or fiber arts, and it's a plastic needle. These are really great tools for sewing your pages together, but you very well might not have a needle at home, and that's totally fine. So I have another option for you. These needles are gonna help me poke my yarn through to keep everything together, but if you don't have a needle to poke through, you can grab a pair of scissors and make 4 cuts on the edge of your folded side of your pages. And that will actually become holes later for you, and you can sew it together that way. And if you don't have yarn for sewing, you can even use a pipe cleaner. You might have one of these at home. This would help hold your book together as well. Today I'm gonna show you using a needle and a bit of yarn. Don't forget, you can use dental floss, which is a very strong fiber to use for sewing. You can get an old shoelace. You can even take an old t-shirt, if it's okay with mom or dad, and you can cut it up and slice it. If you have an old piece of ribbon you can use from a gift or gift wrapping. Maybe you have some ribbon with all of your Christmas decorations or holiday decorations. Be creative. Think of what you can use to bind these all together. So I have my yarn, my pages, and my needle, okay? I am going to show you the sewing just on the paper pages, and when I'm done, how you can attach a cover without tape. And then I'm gonna show you what it looks like when you have a book with tape on it and it's bound together, what it could look like, because I do have some examples for you. So the first thing you're gonna do is from the folded side, the back side of your pages, you're gonna stick your yarn or ribbon or dental floss straight through the first hole. And you're gonna pull. And you're gonna pull until there's just a little bit of yarn sticking out, okay? Don't worry if it gets a knot, no big deal, okay? And then I'm gonna go to the inside of my pages and I'm gonna stick the yarn right through the second hole. So I have 4 holes. When I reach the 4th hole, I'm gonna be done, okay? So it went through the second hole, I'm gonna give it a pull. There we go. Now I'm gonna flip my pages over and I'll be on the back side of my pages again. And I'm gonna stick my, I could even use a pencil to do this. You could take a pencil and it can help you poke right through your hole, your ribbon or yarn. Push it through and I pulled. Look, I'm almost there. And I have 1 more hole to stick through here. I lay my yarn right over the little hole I made. I stick my pencil through. And there I go, there goes my yarn. So now I have 2 pieces here that I can tie together with a double knot. If you want to be wild, give it a triple knot or a quadruple knot, okay? And it's stitched together. All of this excess yarn, I could give it a haircut. I don't need all of it extra. Maybe you do, actually, maybe you want it as part of your design, that's fine. Maybe you want to put beads on it or thread something on it. But here's my pages all stuck together. If I were going to use this, all of these steps I would have done the same, except when I stuck my yarn through my paper, I would also stick it through my binding, my duct tape, and then it would be sewn together, okay? And then my book is done. If I don't have tape, I could just take my cardboard pieces and glue them straight to the first page and straight to the second page, okay? So now that I've shown you how to put that book together, I want to show you some student examples of books. Shout out to some of our homeschoolers who come here on Wednesday afternoons to create with Miss Megan. This is one of the projects they made, and you can see she put her book together here with 2 pieces of cardboard. This is the recycled leftover cardboard from the backs of sketchbooks and paper pads. So if you have those at home, you can use those. And you can see they bound them together with duct tape and thread, and they even painted the tops of them and decorated them. So this is an excellent example of a book, okay? Here's an example of a book that doesn't have any cardboard on it, because maybe you don't have cardboard at home, that's totally fine. This was made with 2 pieces of paper duct taped together, and then we cut up the inside of the book so that you can make a mix and match book, sort of like this. And you could, oh my God, it's a dragon person. You can mix up all the parts. This is an exciting way to put a book together. Okay. Make new characters, I love it. And this was made without any cardboard. So get creative. Maybe you don't have cardboard, you don't have to. This is something that we teach in some of our Art Ventures programs, and this is Japanese bookbinding. If you want to get wild and crazy, and you've made one of our simple hand-sewn books, and you say, you know what, I want to try something more challenging, you can go online and look up Japanese binding. There's tons of YouTube videos on people who can teach you how to do this. You'll need a hole punch and some yarn. And the cover for this was just glued right to the first page. And they have a back and front cover all decorated. And lastly, I'm going to show you a professionally bound book by one of our teachers here at the studio. And you can see it's a Japanese bind, and it's got a nice fabric binding instead of duct tape. And this is some marbleized paper. And it's an interesting shape, right? I love the long shape. You don't have to make your book a traditional size like I showed you. You could think about a new and unique shape, okay? Something long and skinny, or something big and fat and square. All right, it's all, the limitation is your imagination. Hey guys, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to create with us today. Remember, stay creative. The more you create, the greater you're going to feel. I want to remind you that you can share what you've created after listening to this lesson on our social media. We'd love to see the books that you've put together today. And you could do that on Instagram at Gallery North LI, or you could do it on Facebook at Gallery North. Don't forget to keep in touch with us on social media, and look to us tomorrow for your next daily dose of art. Coming to you from the studio at Gallery North.